Hello, good afternoon. We are the Kids Book Bank. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. We are here today with Margaret Bernstein, and we are so excited. Margaret is on our campaign committee, and Margaret, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself a little bit more.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you, Natalie, for the invite. I'm so happy you're in this position. If we could just start there. You've just brought a lot of vibrancy and excitement and new location and just all kinds of new stuff to the book bank. And that is a asset that our city really treasures. I served on the Little Free Library board, which is, that's a global organization. And I served on that board for 6 years because I'm a literacy advocate, and I can really say that there's nothing like the Cleveland Kids Book Bank in other cities. We're kind of the envy of cities that want to do a good job with their little free libraries because they honestly don't know where the books are coming from. And Judy and Judy solved that problem 10 years ago, and that is just a beautiful asset for our city. I am a longtime journalist in Cleveland who became very motivated by the third grade reading guarantee to try and use my career to do something about it. I wanted to make sure that our children were reading at grade level. So I write books for parents to read with their kids. I tutor children in reading at Cleveland Metropolitan School District. And I basically will stand on my head to help a child to acquire reading skills and learn to love reading.
Well, we're gonna have to see that. We're gonna make you stand on your head for that. No, you do an amazing job and really are at the forefront of all that is the Kids Book Bank, as well as our Storyteller of the Year. So thank you for all the storytelling you do, and you're also part of another campaign right now as well, right?
I am. I'm currently working for the Cleveland Public Library on a special project. It's called One Cleveland. And it really is an effort to just kind of energize everyone about Cleveland's incredible history of being a city that is inclusive. We want to highlight the people who are helping our city thrive, be more unified and inclusive. And so I'm the storyteller for every day. We do a daily feature of someone in Cleveland who has just done their part to engage civically, and in whatever it is, use their talent to make this place more unified, inclusive, and just better.
Yes, and we're excited about that campaign as well. We're supporting it, and Cleveland is a great city, but we know we also have our challenges. So before we get really into everything, I'll let everyone introduce themselves who's also on the call. Mahogany, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mahogany Grace, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator at the Kids Book Bank.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Fitzsimmons. I'm the Communications Manager for the Kids Book Bank and am honored to have been with the Book Bank for almost our entire 10 years.
Quartez?
Yes, it's my turn. I have to say something real quick. Margaret, are you still there?
I am, Kissy.
Okay, so your book, all in a what is it? All in a Dad's Day,
That is it.
is one of the first books that my son learned how to read fluently. He's a voracious reader now, but I'm telling you, like I remember this day clearly. I had it on video. I maybe deleted because I needed more storage. But I remember him reading it. We were reading it over and over and over. And then one day he read it from beginning to end, and we just celebrated. So I just want to just make sure I amplify that. I'm like, oh, wait, you're the author of that book. Okay, great.
Love it. Thank you so much, Quartez.
Yeah. So you definitely redirect his heart and mind towards literature. So thank you for that. My name is Quartez Harris, board member here. I am a poet, teaching artist, and an author.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for being on the call. And you're also chairing our Books Like Me campaign, which is running June 1st through the end of July. And we will talk a little bit more about that. And Sherry, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm a volunteer with Kids Book Bank down at the warehouse and recently joined Mahogany in doing some ambassador work.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us on this call, and there may be others joining us, but we're going to jump right into our conversation today that is more than about books. It's really about identity and belonging and connection and the power of storytelling, which we're so blessed to have two of the best on this call to shape the children, families, and communities. At the Kids Book Bank, we often say, books change the narrative. And what does that mean, right? But the narrative for Cleveland and our kids and their ability to read has been fairly low. And so if you're not familiar with the statistics, I encourage you to branch out and look those statistics up for yourself. But what we also know is that having books in the home can change that narrative. And that's what we're all about here at the Kids Book Bank. We want to make sure that every child has books in their home, and those books should be ones that they've chosen that help them feel seen, inspired, and excited to read. So if you have questions that you would like to ask anybody on the call, you can put those in the chat. We are recording this call, and we'll facilitate a Q&A at the end. So Margaret, what was one book that shaped you as a child or one that you always recommend to families?
Okay, I read everything that was available to me as a child. So I was super shy, and I just read, right? I didn't necessarily play with the other kids on the street. I'd just go in my room and read. So I would say that, I mean, I was reading like Nancy Drew, and I was reading, the literature of the time. Nothing really spoke to me, that was really personal then. This was before the days when we cared about diverse books. And so from my childhood, I really don't have a favorite. I did read, had a lot of fun reading Dr. Seuss to my kids, right? And just, and that was kind of our first foray into making reading fun, right? I loved just making bedtime something that they look forward to, making the voices, asking the questions about the page, doing silly things. And I would say our favorite book that we remember reading together was the Harry Potter series. I loved reading the Dobby character. I just had a ball with it.
Give us an example. What did you sound like?
Oh, I don't know. I just sounded like a weird little, English character who was a goblin kind of thing. But we just had a blast. We had a blast, and my kids loved, the bedtime reading time.
Oh, I love that you use accents. If I start, I won't stop. So we'll skip that. But I did make mention to kind of the state of literacy. So what have you seen, and what do you think's working? What's not working? And what are your thoughts on the state of Cleveland's literacy and then the nation too?
Well, I mean, Cleveland doesn't even have good recent numbers. That's a problem for our literacy rate, right? We do see numbers from the Cleveland Public Schools and the kindergarten, readiness rate, or we might call it the unreadiness rate. So we do know that really the majority of kids, and also based on, the adult statistics, there is a number of 66% of Cleveland adults who are not considered, high literate. They're considered low literate. So, I mean, these are consistently disturbing numbers. I want to go back to when we met, Natalie, because we had a lot of fun creating something called Slavic Village Reads. And I still look at that as sort of the ideal way that a community should approach literacy. What we did was we just engaged. I mean, you already had them coming to the table in Slavic Village for a monthly meeting, and everyone was there. The businesses were there, the schools were there, the nonprofits were there, and the families were there. We gave them a meal, and you just every month you convened them to talk about making the community better. So from there, and that already natural meeting rhythm that was happening, we started adding monthly literacy events. And we asked everyone to host one. And I honestly think that that is the way to handle it. We started off with the Boys and Girls Club incorporating literacy into their, this was January, so their break activities when they would have basically, camp at the Boys and Girls Club for kids that are on that holiday break. Literacy was the theme every day. From there, we went to, Metro Health, the hospital, and they hosted a Dr. Seuss birthday party, and they gave away Dr. Seuss books. We went to the daycares and we gave away more books because that was a big part of it. And we just encouraged the parents there to read and to brag. This is one of my favorite things, is using social media, not for dumb stuff, but to, let's use it to brag about our kids and how they know their sight words and how they read this book. Quartez's story, which, is going to warm my heart for the rest of the year, how one day they looked up and their child could read the book. Brag about that on social media. So I've always been a big proponent of using social media for good. And I've always dreamed of, having parents use it to talk about the language and reading skills that their child is acquiring. I wanted to also mention one thing I feel kind of responsible for in a good way in Cleveland is book drives, community book drives. When I got the job at Channel 3, I suggested one. We organized it as a television station. And I honestly think it was a pretty fresh idea for a community. We do them all the time now. The Kids Book Bank does them beautifully. These are changes that we've seen that are very positive.
Absolutely. Book drives are a critical component of us getting you need the books in to get the books out. And so that's really our focus this year, is on the book acquisition. And that's kind of what the Books Like Me campaign does as well. It allows us to purchase the books to supplement what comes in, because about 4% of the books that come in are diverse and resonate with the kids in their experiences and so forth. And I just left Palmer Holland. I'll give them a shout out. They had me there launching their book drive and coming in to volunteer. So corporations really can play a part in this, a whole experience of creating this culture of reading, igniting this culture of reading. I love those things that you share that we used to do. I have chills like remembering how fun it was. I mean, it's books and kids. If you're looking for something to get involved in, right, Sherry? It's books and kids. How fun is this? And we do need to bring some of that back. So you talked about things that we could continue to do that we've done before, and you've talked about things that we should start doing, like bragging about our kids. I think that's a great campaign in and of itself. Is there something we should stop doing?
Stop aiming any literacy programs at just kids. Okay.
Huh?
These need to be parent and child. And so that's a lesson that I've learned, which, as you can see, is reflected in my books.
Yes.
Our kids need to read at home. My lesson that I incorporate into all of my literacy work is, and I didn't shout out my teacher mom, okay, but that's why I had all the books when I was a kid, because I had a mom who was a teacher, had a house full of books. She read to me. And I loved reading. I feel like many of our children do not love reading. Okay, it is a chore. It is something they would rather look at their phone. They would rather do anything than read a book. There are many reasons for that, but for one thing, but the real remedy is to explain to parents how important it is that there are books at home and that they're reading with the child and they're making it look like something that is fun, because books are incredible for building your brain, for expanding your knowledge, and for enjoying yourself, right? They do so many things, right? You learn about other cultures, you build empathy for others, which is something we desperately need right now. But I think our kids are missing out on all of that. And so what we should stop doing is kind of handing a kid a book and saying, it's good for you, read it, and sort of show by example, right? When I do a book drive, I encourage, write in inscribe in it why you loved it. Let's start showing kids the books that made a difference in our lives and in helping them connect with the books that'll make a difference for them. Can I just tell a quick story about Rhonda Crowder, who, yes. I worked with her. We were in the trenches at Charles Dickens School for many years until it was closed. Okay. It's one of the CMSD schools that was set for closure. So it closed 2 weeks ago. And so during the pandemic, we had created a program called Dickens Reads, but it, obviously, couldn't do anything with it during the pandemic. So those kids got sent home, but we tried to find out what books, what did they like? What were the subjects that they liked? Because our Dickens Reads team would send them books about that, right? So Rhonda had been paired up with a student who was your reluctant reader, but he told her he liked Fortnite. He liked playing Fortnite, and she sent him books about Fortnite, and they talked during that whole period. And he would read those Fortnite books to her, and he wanted more, and she found the click book for his, the click moment. And that's what we want. We want that for our kids, and it's kind of up to us as adults and supporters of the book bank to help put those books in kids' hands.
Really, I mean, I remember the phrase books as bridges, and it really does bridge a relationship between an adult and the multiple generations, right? I mean, I could have a conversation with some of my senior friends as well, right? Around literacy, and that's what we really know that books can do. I love that you brought up start the two-gen approach and start the role modeling. And that's really what we're talking about here today. And you've focused on not just adults in general, but a particular population of adults is men. So tell us a little bit about what inspires you to focus on that and the dads.
Yeah, so forgive me while I start, pulling out my props, but let's see, can we see? Hold on.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay,
The bond.
let me just make sure I can see it. Okay. All right, so this is my first book. It was like a blessing that floated down from heaven, but I was a plain dealer reporter when I was invited to write it. I had written a front page story for the Plain Dealer about these guys, the three doctors, and they had already had a best-selling book, New York Times bestseller, called The Pact, about how they grew up poor, heard about this program that would allow them to go to college and medical school for free. But the book kind of outlined, how all the barriers and how they kind of slipped and slid and finally made it to success. And the book was very successful. I interviewed them. They loved the article that was printed in the Plain Dealer so much that they asked me to write their next book. And this one is about how they grew up without fathers. And they wanted to reflect about the impact that it had on them and how it made it even harder to succeed. And so as I was researching that book, which had a very present dad, I was surprised. I was surprised to learn all these statistics about the impact of fatherlessness and how it contributes to all of these higher risk for dropping out of school, performing poorly in school, teen pregnancy, drug use. I mean, it's just a laundry list of social ills. And so I just asked myself, what can I do? Because I am that person. I'm like, what can I do? And I was like, I can write a book for dads to read to their kids. And so I actually wrote All in a Dad's Day in one sitting, one day. And I just kind of knew what I wanted to say. And, I just wanted a book where essentially a dad is telling his child on every page, I love you. I'll protect you, right? I'll guard you. I'll take you to the park. I'll feed you. And so that was my first book. And from there, I've just continued to keep going. So I wanted to show you this one. It's my latest one, and it is a coloring and activity book, kind of very different for me. But a couple of things. First, it is like instantly my bestseller. Schools gave it away for the Father's Walk last year, which I was so proud of. So it's got quizzes. It's for dad and child to fill out together. It's got word games. It's got coloring pages from all of my books. And on the last page, it says 5 reasons dads should read regularly with their kids. And finally, to answer the question you asked, Natalie, one of the reasons is because boys especially benefit from reading with dad. Generally, boys lag behind girls in school achievement, and research indicates that the lack of male role models who read could be part of the reason for this. So I wrote, Dad, you're the secret weapon in closing this achievement gap. Because back to the role model, I want to give dads books that first reflect them as the epic pieces of the family that they are, the important components of the family. And I want them to feel that. I want them to have a book that they're proud to read. And most importantly, I want them to have a book that kids beg them to read over and over again. And Quartez can probably speak to that because kids really, I mean, yeah, it's a good book, but what kids really love is that dad is giving them their full attention. And so that's my ulterior motive, like reading happening at home. Kids want to hear this book because they want that moment with dad.
I love that. And, you talk about dads in particular, and, we know that for many reasons, sometimes male role models are not present, but or not traditional, right? So it might not be dad. But I love, the whole 2-gen approach, right? Caring adults. And the model that the Kids Book Bank uses to get books out is through our partners, which are adults who can have conversations with the kids around what book they're choosing, why they're choosing it, and then come back and have a conversation with them. So that engagement is one of the first things to spark. So whether or not children have a male role model in their life right now who can do this, I think what you're inspiring is we can find them, because there are lots of organizations that can help provide that male role model for people or for kids. And if it's not dad, then who? Right? So it's got to be somebody. And I think that, even mom, if you're playing both roles, that's okay too. But the reading and the attention is really where it's at. But I also know that giving that piece of you, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes a day, is so intentional and so important to that bonding experience and to that experience around reading. So I would encourage anyone listening to the call to think about who's around. Is it the neighbor? Is it the uncle? Is it grandparents? Is it coaches? Right? We have a lot of coaches that take on this role for kids and order books and distribute the books to their teams. So it really is. You can get creative, right? If you're not the dad yourself, you can get creative and be a male role model as well. So what are some of the responses you've received from the kids and the dads around these books?
Well, I think my favorite response that I get, I love to get the book sponsored so I can do a giveaway. Cuyahoga Hills Juvenile Detention Center, okay, where they do have young dads. And so they asked me to come give the books to it was a day when families were visiting with the children of the men who are incarcerated there. So that was a great opportunity because these were young kids, 1, 2, and 3 years old. So I actually gave the dads tips for even how to read to kids of that age. Because you might think, you don't read, I got to dispel that myth, because you do read to 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds. And I wanted to show them how to make that book age appropriate and interesting for them.
Well, what do they say back? Are they
say?
Are they, yeah, give me more. I want more. I want to do this. Or are they like, oh,
so the ultimate compliment is when I get a street fair, that was what it was, giving away books, and a kid will say, we already have that one. Because now I know I'm hitting my goal, because I want this book on every bedside table. Right. I want this book to be being read in households. And I would say, because I self-publish, right? I pay for these books myself. It's all just sort of a mission for me. And there's probably 40,000. I probably have reprinted them. I started in 2012, so I've reprinted them many times. And, I'm trying to saturate. I'm trying to make sure that dads have access to books that reflect fathers that look like them and make them feel good when they read it.
Right. And you've already mentioned the benefits of that in terms of the confidence it builds, the empathy it builds, the understanding and acceptance of seeing yourself in a story and knowing
important.
Yeah, you're important.
Yeah, it really goes with books like me, which I know you're aiming at the children, but dads need to see dads like me.
That's true. Right? I love that. Yes.
And I honestly am trying to deliver that for them. Each book is really about one day that the dad spends just sort of taking his child on adventures. So each one starts in the morning and ends at night with, him tucking them into bed. And I feel like dads feel as much pride when they finish this book. Typically evokes, when I read it out loud, I generally get a on the last page. And I love that response because I honestly think that kind of lets me know that kids are, going to bed with this, absolute feeling of they're wrapped in their father's love.
Absolutely. And you are role modeling that you can be an author, you can be a storyteller, you can be all of these things as well. And so we love that you are inspiring, not just through your books, but through your actions. You really are a literacy advocate. So what's next for you, and what advice would you have for someone who is either a parent or someone who wants to be an author, or what advice do you have for Cleveland?
Wow. Well, I think especially now that I'm working on this project for the library and I've just been exposed to so many people on the list that I'm writing about who had an idea and turned it into a reality. Today's person is Jan Thrope. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jan, but go to that page, cpl.org/1CLE.
We'll put it in. Leslie will put it in the chat.
Get to highlight these stories because the real underlying motive of it all is we can all be like that. We can all be like Jan. We can all make a difference. This book idea occurred to me, got the first one done in kind of a flash of inspiration, and now I'm well down the road with it, and I get to hear stories, and there'll be so many I'll never hear of how the book touched the life of a dad and a child.
So like you, Margaret, to ask something about you and you highlight someone else. So your heart is just so big, and we're so grateful. And you're not done because you keep coming up with ideas. So
that's true.
That's true. So I don't think I have it readily available, but you and Mahogany have been working on a little project. Do we want to talk about that for a second? Your idea?
Yeah, for sure, because it relates to, your list of excellent questions. What can a community do to promote literacy? I think literacy should be something we're shouting from the rooftops, and so that everywhere that a family looks, they should see programs and institutions that are supporting them to get books in the home and to make reading a ritual. And so book baby showers is something I've become obsessed with lately. Because I feel like people love to have baby showers. And so let's introduce the idea of making literacy a piece of the shower, encourage the guests to bring a book it's a common idea, but now I'm like, let's popularize it in Cleveland. Encourage guests to bring a book as their gift so that you can build the baby's library from the very beginning. It immediately reinforces the idea, not just for that mom who's the host, but all the guests, that we need to start reading to these babies from the minute that they come out. So anyway, yes, I'm obsessed with it, and Mahogany and I are having some fun. Mahogany was present for our kind of our kickoff event where we where the book bank gave away books at a community baby shower.
And we're going to really try to do more of that. And at the Kids Book Bank, where we are able to bring families and children into our space, we're going to have some of those. So stay tuned and follow us. I'll turn it over to Leslie to kind of close us out here. But thank you again. And well, before I turn it over to Leslie, Quartez, what do you think? I mean, as the chair of our Books Like Me campaign, as an author, as a writer, as a storyteller, as a former teacher, as a dad, what do you think?
Oh, I mean, so I was, Margaret, I was just sort of recording your voice. I mean, your everything you were saying it's bundled up in my notebook. I made sure I quoted you. Yeah, I'm enthralled. I'm enthralled. I love this sort of sense of bonding with your fathers through literature. I love what Margaret said about reading is a way to give our children our attention, our time, right? Margaret's first book, debut book, which I didn't know that was your debut book, that moment that I shared with you, that was a threshold moment because that was a time when me and my son, we were bonding, through a book and our connection through your book, it bloomed, and since then, that's how I communicate with my son is I always say books are conversation starters, they're anchors. So if I don't know you don't always know what to say, but you read a book and you have something to talk about. So I also love Margaret. I love what you said about sort of reading. Yes, we tell kids to read. We try to encourage them to read. But I love how you said parents should also showcase their love for reading. I love that story of, yeah, it's not enough to tell a kid to read. Like kids don't care that much unless they see how much you love the reading
That's right.
experience. So I was sitting here thinking to myself, like, wait, that's actually beautiful. Margaret, you said so many things. I'm overwhelmed. My brain is like it's buzzing right now. One more thing I want to say. I love what you said. Speaking of brain, you said um, language, books build your brain.
That's
And you
correct.
said reading is a way of enjoying yourself, and show by example. And let's start by showing kids the books that changed our lives. So there's nothing else I need to say. You did it.
Oh yeah, I was already a fan because I know who you are.
I'm,
But
I'm, no, I know who you are. I'm following you right now. So whatever you need, I'm here. I'm going to amplify the work you're doing in Cleveland, and do that. Because literally, I want to say one more thing. I have a very people are. I don't know. I have a very intimate relationship with my son, very close bonded relationship with my son, and it's because of books.
yeah,
It's because of
yeah.
books.
Look at all those books in the background.
Well, to be fair, these are me and my wife's books
Okay,
for tomorrow.
okay, that's gonna be a well-read child.
Oh yeah, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yes.
Well, we're so grateful for both of you to be on the Books Like Me campaign, and Leslie will put some links in so that those listening to this call can support the Books Like Me, and we'll talk a little bit about some other ways you can get involved.
We've touched on the Books Like Me campaign. I've put a link in the chat. That is our annual appeal to raise money to allow us to purchase brand new books featuring diverse characters. I think Natalie mentioned earlier on that only about 4% of the books that we receive via donation feature those characters, but it's so important. We all know that kids see themselves in the books that they read. So please donate if you can. Another way to donate is to buy some books featuring diverse characters and donate those. That's a fun way to support. Some other ways that you can support the Kids Book Bank in general. Come volunteer with us. Just go to our website, kidsbookbank.org. You'll see a big volunteer button right there. It's super fun, easy. We train you on site. We've got great music, snacks. People love it. We truly have a 5-star volunteer experience. You can also run a book drive. July actually happens to be our East versus West annual book drive challenge, where we pit the city against itself to see how many books we can bring in. So start collecting for those. You can bring books when you come to volunteer. Next week, we also have an exciting event if you are into music or you're into live events. Next Thursday, June 18th, we will have our Reading Rocks benefit concert at Music Box Supper Club. Local musicians are donating their time and talent to us, which is incredible. And this is all being pulled together by some of our rock star volunteers who are big music folks. And so all of the proceeds come back to the Kids Book Bank. So you can learn more about that on our website as well. And one other thing, you can see Margaret again in person at our Changing the Narrative Books and Brunch event on June 25th. That's at our location at the Kids Book Bank. She will be on hand to talk more about what we're talking about today. We'll be talking about kind of what's new at the Kids Book Bank. Margaret will also be selling her books and generously donating a portion of proceeds back to us. So come for that. Sign up on our website. Fun, free. It's a great way to learn more about us. And if you don't already follow us on social, that's maybe the easiest way and easiest thing that you can do to stay up with us and support us.
All in a Dad's Day is sponsoring the brunch, so there will be lovely food, refreshments. It is kid friendly. So if dads want to come and do that experience with the kids, it's from 11:45 to 12:30, but we'll extend some time for Margaret signing and books. So that is really exciting. So if not you, share with someone who you think is a great role model or should be a great role model for literacy, and think about those ways that you can make a difference in Cleveland. We really appreciate everyone listening to this call. We appreciate our volunteers like Sherry, and we appreciate our board members like Quartez and our champions like Margaret. And we're just so truly blessed to be in a position to help make sure every kid has books in their home.